There is a sacred power within you, quiet, unseen, yet infinite in reach. It is your imagination. Not idle daydreams or fleeting thoughts, but the divine faculty through which all things are made. Everything you call reality, the people you meet, the circumstances you face, the life you live, springs forth from the images you accept as true within yourself. You're not a passive observer of life, but its deliberate creator. This power is not earned, nor can it be taken from you. It is God-given. But like all power, it demands wisdom. For what you imagine with conviction, you breathe into being. So tonight, I say to you, imagination creates your reality. Use it wisely. Imagination is the only creative power. Everything begins within. The chair you sit on, the clothes you wear, the buildings that tower above you, the phone in your hand, none of it existed until someone dared to imagine it. Imagination is not a mental toy. It is the original act of creation. Before a single brick is laid, before any action is taken, there is the unseen picture in the mind, quietly declaring itself into form. The world you see with your physical eyes is but a reflection, a shadow, cast by the light of your inner world. That inner world is imagination. This divine faculty is not just for artists, writers, or dreamers. It belongs to everyone. It is not a tool you pick up occasionally. It is the eternal workshop of your life. Every moment, whether you know it or not, you are imagining something. The question is not whether you are imagining, but what you are imagining. The world is not reacting to your effort. It is responding to your inner state. What you accept as true within yourself, with feeling and conviction, will externalize itself in your life. Imagination is the soil of reality. Thought is the seed. Feeling is the water. Belief is the sunlight. You cannot sow fear in your imagination and reap peace in your world. You cannot plant limitation within and harvest freedom without. This power does not discriminate. It simply reflects. Like a mirror, it shows you what you truly hold in consciousness. That is why some people repeat the same patterns again and again, despite their outer efforts. They try to change the world while leaving the inner image untouched. It is like repainting the mirror instead of washing the face. When you realize that your imagination holds this creative authority, your life begins to shift. You no longer wait for change, you become it. You stop reacting to appearances and start responding from a deeper place of knowing. You understand that your job is not to manipulate the outer world, but to rearrange the inner assumptions from which it arises. The mind, once disciplined, becomes a divine architect. Do not underestimate this power. The world may call it fantasy, but it is the root of all form. History is shaped not by those who merely observe what is, but by those who dared to imagine what could be and persisted until it became so. Use this power with intention. Feed it with love, faith, and vision. Guard it against doubt, fear, and idle thinking. For whatever you accept within, life will not question. It will simply bring it forth. Imagination is not a substitute for reality. It is reality in its earliest, most potent form. Learn to dwell in the unseen with as much conviction as you dwell in the seen. And the moment you do, you will discover that the world bends, not to your effort, but to your assumption. And you will know without doubt that imagination is not just powerful. It is the only true creative power there is. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The secret of creation lies not in hoping, begging, or waiting. It lies in assuming. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to occupy the state of your desire as though it were already accomplished. This is not wishful thinking. It is not pretending in the childish sense. It is a deliberate creative act, a conscious shift from what is seen to what is believed. It is the art of feeling now what you desire to feel later. And in that sacred act, you summon the unseen into the seen. Everything in life obeys the law of consciousness. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. You do not manifest what you merely wish for, you manifest what you inwardly accept as true. This is why it is not enough to think of the thing you desire. You must think from it. You must rise in consciousness to the level of your wish already fulfilled and remain there until it hardens into fact. How do you do this? Through imagination, yes, but even more so through feeling. It is feeling that seals the assumption. If you can feel yourself to be wealthy, loved, healthy, or free without a single change in your external world, then you have touched the power. The outer world will rearrange itself to reflect that inner conviction. It must, for it is only ever your mirror. Most people imagine from their current state. They say, when I have the job, then I will feel secure, or when I find love, then I will be happy. But this is the inversion of the law. You must first feel the security, the love, the joy, as if it were already yours. That feeling becomes the cause. The outer result is merely the echo. This is the essence of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must dare to feel abundance in the face of lack. You must feel companionship when alone, wholeness when unwell, victory when nothing seems to move. And if you can hold that feeling, not with strain or effort, but with quiet inner knowing, then the world must yield. The bridge of events will form, often in unexpected ways, to lead you to the very thing you have already accepted within. Assuming is not arrogance. It is faith in action. It is aligning yourself with the deeper truth that reality flows from within outward. It is not asking for permission. It is claiming your spiritual birthright. You are not waiting for the door to open. You are walking through it in consciousness, knowing that the material world must follow. Let go of the how. That is not your domain. Your work is to feel, to know, and to live from the end. The end is the beginning in disguise. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not hoping, you are creating. You are declaring, this is who I am, and the universe, faithful and unerring, responds, yes, it is. Your reality is a shadow cast by inner assumptions. Look around you. Everything you see, your relationships, your health, your financial state, your circumstances, is not the cause of your inner state, but the effect. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. What you consistently assume to be true about yourself, others, and the world becomes the structure of your external reality. Your assumptions are the blueprint. Life is the builder. Change the blueprint, and the structure must change. An assumption is not merely a thought. It is a deep-seated belief, often held unconsciously, that governs your perceptions and experiences. These assumptions shape how you interpret events, how you respond to them, and ultimately what you attract. They are the invisible scripts you live by. And, like actors on a stage, the world performs according to the roles you've written in your mind. If you assume that life is a struggle, you will find evidence of hardship everywhere. If you assume that people cannot be trusted, betrayal will appear at every corner. If you assume that you are unworthy of love, you will unconsciously repel it. But here lies a liberating truth. These assumptions are not fixed, they are chosen. And what has been chosen can be changed. Reality is plastic to the touch of imagination. When you alter your assumptions, your world must follow, for it cannot outpicture anything beyond your inner convictions. It is not magic, it is law. You do not need to fight circumstances. You do not need to beg or plead for change. You need only to revise the premise upon which your life is built. Start with the seed, not the fruit. This is why it is not enough to change behavior. Behavior is the branch. Assumption is the root. A person can say affirmations all day, but if deep within they assume lack, fear, or failure, their world will reflect that hidden belief. Outer effort is futile without inner transformation. You cannot escape your assumptions. They follow you like a shadow until they are replaced. And yet, the moment you claim a new assumption, genuinely and persistently, the old must die and the new must live. If you assume you are now prosperous, loved, confident, or whole, and refuse to contradict that state with fear or doubt, then the world begins to echo your inner declaration. Circumstances will rise to meet your new identity, and what once seemed impossible becomes your lived experience. You are never the victim of the world you see. You are the author. The pen is in your hand, and that pen is your assumption. You write your reality daily, not with effort, but with belief. Begin now to observe your assumptions. Question them. Replace those that do not serve you, and remember, the world is not fixed, it is fluid. It bends to the shape of your inner state. Reality is nothing more than your mind turned outward. Change your mind, and the world cannot help but follow. Living from the end is the secret. There is a great mystery hidden in plain sight, a secret that few grasp, though it is the foundation of every true transformation. You must live from the end, not toward it. To live from the end is to mentally and emotionally occupy the state of your fulfilled desire as if it were already yours. It means to think, feel, and act from the place where your dream is already real, already complete, already fact. This is the dividing line between wishful thinking and creative consciousness. Most people live life toward their desires. They place their goals in the future, always reaching, always striving, never arriving. They believe they must first see the change before they can feel it. But creation does not work that way. The world does not respond to effort alone. It responds to assumption, and assumption demands that you begin at the end. To live from the end is to bypass appearances, to ignore the evidence of the senses, and to claim your ideal as your present reality. It is a radical act of faith, not in something outside you, but in the truth that your inner world shapes your outer world. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you. You must dare to say it is done, even when nothing in your environment reflects that statement. You must speak, walk, and feel from the state of already being the person you desire to be. If you want to be confident, act as confidence would act. If you desire success, dwell mentally in the consciousness of one who has already achieved. If you long for love, rest in the feeling of being cherished and chosen. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. You are aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with the end you seek, and in doing so, you call it forth. The outer world is not cause, it is effect. It follows, it echoes, it reflects. Trying to change the external world without changing your inner state is like trying to fix a reflection in a mirror without touching the face. When you live from the end, you no longer react to conditions, you create them. You no longer fight with facts, you rewrite them by shifting the state from which you live. This principle is beautifully simple. Claim it now and let the evidence catch up. This does not mean you deny the present situation. It means you no longer accept it as final. You understand it is a product of past assumptions, and you now plant new seeds. Living from the end is planting those seeds in full faith that they must grow. This way of living requires discipline. Your senses will tempt you to doubt. The world will whisper that you are foolish, unrealistic, deluded, but creation is not bound by consensus. What is real to you will become real to others in time. You must persist in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, regardless of delay or contradiction. Your inner conviction must become more real to you than any outer circumstance. Living from the end is not pretending, it is knowing. It is walking by inner vision, not outer sight. It is remembering who you are, a creator, not a spectator. And when you dwell in the end, something powerful happens. Life begins to shift. Doors open. Coincidences occur. People, places, and opportunities align. You did not force them. You summoned them by being the version of you who already had what you desired. Let this truth settle deep within you. You are not separate from your desire. You are one with it. It is not something to be chased. It is something to be expressed. The bridge of incidents, the path to your dream, will reveal itself as you persist in the state of already being. You do not need to know how. The how is not your concern. The state is. Focus on the state, and the how will unfold with divine precision. So let today be the day you stop striving and start assuming. Let it be the day you stop reacting and start creating. Go within, choose the end you desire, feel it, live from it, and watch as the world reorders itself around your new reality. Live from the end, it is not only the secret, it is the law. Imagination used unwisely creates limitation. Imagination is a divine gift, the creative faculty through which the unseen becomes seen. It is the silent sculptor of destiny, forever shaping and reshaping the world in response to the images we hold within. But this sacred power, if left undisciplined, does not cease to create. It continues, only now it fashions limitation, fear, and lack. The same force that builds dreams fulfilled can just as easily construct prisons of doubt, struggle, and despair. The issue is not whether imagination works, but whether it is used wisely. Every idle thought, every habitual worry, every unexamined belief, these are all acts of imagination. And make no mistake, the universe responds to them just as faithfully as it does to our highest visions. When we entertain fears repeatedly, we are imagining outcomes we do not desire, yet giving them life. When we relive past hurts, we are recreating them in the present. When we assume the worst in others, we draw out those very qualities in them. Imagination is not neutral. It moves toward the dominant feeling, the prevailing assumption. Used unconsciously, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of limitation. Most people unknowingly misuse their imagination daily. They speak of what they don't want more than what they do. They picture failure, rejection, sickness, then call it realistic thinking. But there is nothing realistic about creating scenarios in the mind that sabotage the spirit. Worry is simply imagination cloaked in fear. Regret is imagination chained to the past. Even envy is imagination twisted to focus on what seems absent instead of what is possible. And yet, in every misuse is the seed of redemption. The moment you realize that you've been imagining unwisely, you reclaim your authority. You can turn from the images of lack and loss and begin deliberately to construct a new reality in mind. Just as you once imagined defeat, you can now imagine victory. Just as you once replayed pain, you can now rehearse peace. This shift does not require force, it requires awareness. Begin by becoming conscious of your inner dialogue. What do you say to yourself when no one is listening? What scenes do you replay as you fall asleep at night? What outcomes do you dwell upon when the world is silent? These are not harmless musings, they are blueprints. They are instructions to life. You are impressing them upon the subconscious, which knows only to obey. Whether those impressions are joyful or dreadful, expansive or limiting, the subconscious does not judge, it creates. This is why discipline of thought is not merely a mental exercise, it is spiritual responsibility. You are always creating, always sowing seeds in the garden of the unseen. What grows there tomorrow depends on what you plant today. And planting wisely means choosing deliberately. Imagining lovingly, assuming the best, seeing yourself and others through the eyes of truth, not fear. You are never at the mercy of circumstances. You are only ever at the mercy of your own imagination. The moment you take command of it, life bends. Even the past can be rewritten in imagination and the future reborn. Nothing is fixed. The world is as fluid as your inner picture. When imagination is misused, we blame the world. When it is mastered, we bless it. Let this be your turning point. Stop feeding the fears that feed your limits. Stop rehearsing misfortune in your mind. Train yourself to see the best, not just in things, but in yourself. Assume the state you desire to live in, and let that assumption become your new foundation. Where there was once anxiety, let peace take its place. Where there was once confusion, let clarity rule. Where there was once delay, let fulfillment dwell. Imagination is not only your power, it is your responsibility. Use it not to repeat the pain of yesterday, but to create the joy of tomorrow. Guard it, honor it, discipline it, and above all, trust it. For imagination used wisely opens the door to freedom, but imagination used builds the walls of limitation, and you hold the key to both.